around the world.
Decent housing is all right. We're gonna fight. Decent housing is all right.
Everybody know why we're squatting. They won't give the houses to them, so we're gonna take them anyway, because we know they belong to us. We're fired up and fed up. We're tired.
Housing is all right. We're gonna fight. Decent housing is all right. All right. It's all right. We're gonna fight. Decent housing is all right. We're gonna fight. All right.
This is Philadelphia.
It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
There are about 40,000 abandoned houses here. At the same time, 20,000 poor people need housing. Some people have reacted to this contradiction by breaking into the houses, fixing them up, and living in them illegally. They are squatters, and Philadelphia has the largest number of them in the country. These squatters don't sneak into houses. They move in openly, risking eviction and arrest, publicly provoking the city to change its housing policies.
Broken glass everywhere, people pissing on the stage, you know they just don't care. I can't take the smell, can't take the noise, got no money to move out, I guess I got no choice. Rats in the front room, roaches in the back, junkies in the alley with the baseball bat. Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head.
The news spread through Philadelphia's poor neighborhoods that squatting is a good way to get a house. Word was passed on the street, in community meetings, and from storefront church pulpits, like at Pastor McLean's Temple Emmanuel Church.
I got to get up. It's time for me to get up.
Yes, sir.
Somebody.
Somebody. Come on, Jesus. Come on. Yeah.
Do you hear me?
We've been trying to work and trying to open the doors in different communities in Philadelphia and across the country.
Yes.
Trying to get the city to help the poor. That's what we've been trying to do for the last 4 years. You may have a house, yes, but there's somebody don't have a house. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Jesus didn't have anywhere to live either. So we could typify him as a squatter. Amen.
Gloria Gilles needs a place to live. She is a 22-year-old single mother. Gloria and her 3 children, Latasha, Kaisha, and Richard, live with Gloria's mother, brother, and sister in Southwest Philadelphia. Gloria heard about squatting from friends.
This is my mother's house, and being overcrowded, it means like Latasha would have to sleep. She sleeps here, and Kaisha and Richard and I, we sleep over in this bed over here, and Kaisha sleep at the bottom, and me and Richard sleep up at the top. I felt like it was time for me to better the kids' situation instead of being all cramped up together. I tried going through Housing Authority for the projects, and they put me on the waiting list, and I'm like still on the waiting list.
Gloria made a list of abandoned houses in her neighborhood that are possibilities for her to squat in. She researches city records for information about their owners and the tax debt.
What I'm doing is looking up the street address and the house number first, and then going to the tax lien report and looking up how much taxes and who owns it.
Ideally for a squatter, the owner is deceased and back taxes of at least $1,000 are owed.
My mother tried to talk me out of squatting because she was saying that if you work and save your money, in the long run you can buy a house, but with the way prices are now, well, I could have did that. Now she's totally with me, and she's hoping I don't go to jail.
You asked me about people, squatters. I think anybody that breaks the law is wrong, even though they may holler that they're right.
Nathan Weiss is a builder, real estate developer, and landlord in Philadelphia. He buys up abandoned houses at monthly sheriff sales for $500 or $1,000, renovates them, then rents the houses, or sells them for an average of $15,000.
Baltimore Avenue, any bid? $500 anymore? Once, twice, third. So, $500, same buyer.
As a landlord, he knows what causes abandonment.
The spiral of inflation, the taxes, the upkeep, the maintenance, it just ran away from the return of the profit. Cancer starts to grow. First thing you know, the tenant's in there a year or two, didn't pay no rent. The owner gives up trying to collect it. He walks away from the property. Now the tenant is getting aggravated because things haven't been fixed. She moves out. When she moves out, the vandals come, and then everything else moves out. The toilet moves out, the bathtub moves out, the plumbing. A lot of times the walls, the partitions, the floors, the bricks even today are valuable. You have abandonment.
Representing the national government's point of view is Philip Abrams, the Undersecretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Unfortunately, it's when abandonment starts, it begins to spread throughout a neighborhood. I don't know what the particular problems are in Philadelphia. It's not unique to Philadelphia, and it's a problem throughout many of the northern, particularly the northern and northeastern cities in the country. It boils down to a problem of economic viability. At some point, it is no longer profitable for whoever owns the house to occupy it or to rent it.
I think that we are probably better off than New York, Chicago, Detroit, and probably a little worse off than Los Angeles.
W. Wilson Good is Philadelphia's new mayor. He was the city's managing director from 1979 through 1982, the highest city official to deal with the squatters.
22,000, 24,000 abandoned houses, as I see it, out of a total of 80,000 houses is a significant number, but the number is on a decline. In 1970, the number was 45,000. And I think that because it is on a decline, that I'm optimistic that we'll be able to turn the whole thing around.
You turn over here, you'll see a property. It's in good shape. I mean, it's clear that a family could move into that property without a lot of difficulty.
John Street has been a member of the Philadelphia City Council since 1980, where he's been an advocate of squatters' rights.
What we will do is we will refuse to let people occupy these properties. We let them stay vacant, knowing full well that they will be vandalized. Then, once the windows go, then we have to start picking up the cost of cleaning and sealing them. And when they go beyond the point when they can be fixed, then we'll spend $3,000 to $5,000 to tear them down. In my view, we have every right to literally infringe upon the property rights of these owners who have neglected and abandoned these properties. I don't know any reason why a person ought to have a right to own a property in a neighborhood, don't pay the taxes. That property clearly constitutes a public nuisance, and then we say we won't let a family live in that property to abate that nuisance because somebody may be offended somewhere along the line. I am offended by a person who owns a property in North Philadelphia, won't pay the taxes, won't keep it up, and tells me that I can't do anything about it.
It's not unusual to find a house that's been boarded up for 15 years with $5,000 in property taxes owed to the city. There is a gift property program in Philadelphia to deal with this situation. The city can reclaim these houses and turn them over to poor people who agree to fix them up and live in them. However, in a period of 4 years, only 629 applicants out of 18,000 actually got houses through the gift property program. People on the waiting lists, like Gloria Gilles, got impatient and frustrated and began squatting in the empty houses. Gloria chose a house on Divinity Street in southwest Philadelphia and broke into it in March 1982.
And then we took the board off of the window and just like climbed through the window because the window was broken. After we looked around, saw that the house was in good condition, we put up this big sign that said, "This house now belongs to Gloria Gilles." This is to let the city of Philadelphia know.
When Gloria decided to become a squatter, she started working with Grover Wright and the grassroots group he chairs, Acorn. They assist people who want to become squatters. For 40 years, Grover's been a civil rights, church, and labor activist.
Well, when I moved to Philadelphia, well, right away I began to think about what can we do as a community, because I've always, well, I came up with a family of 18, so I'm a people's man. That has always kept me enthusiastic about working with young people. When Gloria first came on the scene, she was very shy, and she was somewhat frightened. She just did a complete turnaround. She felt confident in herself, so that changed her whole outlook on life. That has been the beauty of Gloria. Right now, we are engaged in the housing situation, not only here in Philadelphia, but across the United States in 7 other cities. So you're not alone in this.
Grover and Gloria run weekly orientation meetings for people who want to become squatters.
Gloria, why are we squatting and what have you done so far?
It is illegal what we're doing, but you have to believe within yourself. Like you said, you want to know why people are on waiting lists so long. You know, I can't answer that, and they're not going to answer it. The only thing I can say is you have to believe within yourself. Is this something that I want to do? Am I going to get out there and fight for what I believe in?
As it is, I'm squatting. I called last week about a house. They've investigated it for me, and I'm going to squat Friday. I need a home and a roof over my family.
Now, see, this is what we're telling you. And this is the things that we were asking from the members of the group. Why do you want to squat? The reason for wanting to squat. We are standing behind you. When we stand out there and say, we're fired up, we can't take it no more, she can say that with us.
We're fired up, we ain't taking no more. We're fired up, we ain't taking no more. We're fired up, we ain't taking no more. We're fired up.
Squatting increased. 20 houses a month were being occupied by squatters marching from house to house. Getting a house was one purpose for squatting. Getting the city to improve the gift property program was another. Squatters demanded that 200 houses a month be processed by the program. Responding to the squatters' actions, Councilman Street offered a proposal to protect squatters.
What I've done is introduce a bill into the City Council of Philadelphia which would allow us to take a vacant abandoned property, evaluate a prospective occupier of that property, put them in that property lawfully and legally, all within about a 14-day period.
Neither Managing Director Wilson Good nor Mayor William Green were endorsing the street bill, and its chances for passage were slim. During 1982, when John Street's bill was pending, the city of Philadelphia spent $4.2 million to demolish over 1,000 houses. 4 city crews worked full-time cleaning and sealing thousands more. The city estimates that 1/3 of these houses are livable. The squatters were getting discouraged about changing city policy. Grover and others brought up the squatters' concerns at every opportunity, like at this meeting for community leaders called by Mr. Good.
The issue really is not one of desire or will. The issue really is one, as I see it, of what's legal. Keep in mind that property right is still a fundamental right in this country and in this city.
I hear what you're saying about property rights are fundamental, but I think keeping the city viable is fundamental too.
Tell me, if you had my job, how would you do it?
I would shorten the length of time
How?
that someone would respond to the house that is sitting vacant.
You know, we're not homeowners, but we're still people.
For Grover, squatting is a form of protest, another case of having to pressure government from below to do the right thing. To Wilson Good, squatting is illegal and counterproductive. He feels that if existing city programs were better administered, the housing problems could be minimized.
I'm convinced, based upon all my numbers, that we do indeed have in Philadelphia enough houses to house all the people who are desirous of being housed.
Mr. Good was asked, what do you anticipate from the squatters as Philadelphia's new mayor?
Well, I expect there will be pressure. I expect there will be expectation which in fact exceeds my ability to perform. And I expect that there will be demonstration and pickets and all those things. But I expect to be a responsive mayor. I expect to, after a year, to put demonstrators out of business in this town.
What we are at, not the people, we are at the system. And that's the only way to make it responsive to people, is to act and speak.
And I believe Wilson Good has integrity in what he says. However, he's locked into a system, so that's why we're here, to get him to move his integrity into cutting red tape.
For now, the city was not responding. The squatters continued taking houses. Meanwhile, squatting had spread to Pittsburgh, Detroit, Dallas, and Boston. In St. Louis, squatters took HUD-owned houses and were arrested. Squatters from all these cities were frustrated by their inability to change housing practices at a local level, so they decided to make a federal case out of it. It's June 1982. A three-day demonstration, including a series of meetings with federal policymakers, would be held in Washington, D.C. Gloria continued fixing up her house. In the meantime, she's become a leader in the national squatters movement. Gloria and the other squatters knew they would not be welcome in Washington, but they went to get recognition for their claim that decent housing is a right.
You take directions to do this. Pitch it, honey, pitch it. Stand in front of another tent. You know you're going to have enough room directly in front of another tent.
There are over 2 million vacant abandoned housing units in the United States, enough to house the 5.6 million people living in substandard housing. The Reagan administration's housing policy is to encourage new housing development in the private sector by lowering taxes for developers and creating a better climate for investors.
What made you decide to come here today?
Because the housing problem, I had been on the waiting list with probably trying to get that particular house for a couple of months, but I had applied for other properties almost a year ago and they never got back with me. So to prove to them that there is a housing problem, not just in Philly, but all over, we came here to let them know that we're serious about what we're doing.
So you have been trying to get in public housing for how long?
Public housing for 2 years and get property for a year.
It's a shame they don't use a better forum than destroy some of the beauty that's out there right now. So you don't think this is... I don't think it's a proper place, truthfully. No, I think they ought to work through their congressmen, their senators. Like if I had a problem like that, that's where I'd want to start. And it's obvious when you look back out over there, countryside there, that they haven't enhanced anything. And they're not setting a good standard for themselves, that's for sure.
Despite regulations requiring it, Reagan's appointees at HUD refused to protect those who have lost their houses from greedy mortgage companies eager to foreclose. When lobbying, petitioning, and every other protest failed, ACORN members began to squat. We are told that squatting is illegal. And I think to let these houses remain empty when people are willing to fix them up is immoral.
I don't think it's necessary to get my attention by bringing in a lot of people to Washington, but if it's necessary in their opinion, they certainly have the right to do it, and I respect their right to draw as much attention as they can to what they consider their advocacy.
The squatters had a permit to stay during daylight hours only. To dramatize their objectives, they decided to stay overnight, squatting behind the White House.
The park guards harassed us all that first night. They come around and said, open up your flaps and leave the flaps open.
2 blankets, 2 sheets and a blanket, and they want me to take that out there. And they got the kids' clothes in my towel.
They said we had too many clothes, they said we had food, we had to get rid of it.
The park police said they could stay, but only if they did not go to sleep.
We got too many clothes. Now we got too much food. They want to starve us. They want to keep us naked. They want to keep us outdoors, but they're not going to do it. We're going to comply with that. We're going to put all our belongings over here. We're going to put all the coolers out, and we're going to be here until we get ready to leave, because this is our tent city, this is our country, and we're not moving.
Although we have to die, we got to hold up the bloodstained banner.
We sang, we prayed, some of us silently cussed, but we did not sleep at all. And it was pretty cold that night, too.
Walk on by, walk on by. Foolish pride, let all that I have left just let me hide the tears and the sadness you gave me when you say goodbye. Walk on by.
The next morning, Grover, Gloria, and the other squatters went to Capitol Hill to tell their stories to the House Subcommittee on Housing and Community Development.
And as of today, the city or federal housing programs in Philadelphia are still not doing the job that they're supposed to be doing, which is helping low-income people.
After a year of living in that apartment and trying to find decent housing for my family, going through every agency I could find, my family and I decided to squat in order to find a decent place to live.
The squatters' testimony produced a legislative proposal to allocate $20 million to cities for the acquisition and rehabilitation of abandoned houses. The bill has since passed the Congress and was signed into law in November 1983.
The trip to Washington offered a kind of a hope that we can take part in the processes that affect our lives.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I've got the light of freedom. I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah, I've got the light of freedom. I'm gonna let it shine. I've got the light of freedom. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Down at the White House, I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah, down at the White House, I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah, down at the White House, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Philadelphia finally established a program to get houses to squatters. The protesters built enough public pressure to get the city council to pass the street proposal unanimously. It took effect in July 1982. But it takes at least a year for the new program to turn over a house to a squatter, and there's no funding for rehabilitation. The homeless find the program inadequate, and squatters continue taking houses illegally. In July 1983, Gloria's house was purchased for her by the city as part of a new agreement with the squatters. She expects to get the deed to the house soon. By squatting, Gloria Gilles and the others got a place to live. They also had a major impact on housing policy in Philadelphia and across the country. But something else happened. In the process of taking direct political action, their view of themselves and their community has been transformed.
It changed me as far as knowing that I can fight and change the system, and that you have that pulling together as a group a lot of people can make a difference.
Gloria fixed up her house with help from friends, family, and neighbors. She received no government funds to rehabilitate her house.
This was the room I was proud of the most. I think knowing how much I did it myself and put into it, it also gives you a feeling that instead of like having somebody come in and do it, you're going to take that much more care of it yourself because you know how hard you work to do it.
And Mommy painted the walls, and Mommy put some rug in the house, and Mommy put some windows in and put some sheetrock up there, and that's all.
Now we got a house.
Hold down Freedom Road. I'm gonna let it shine. Hold down Freedom Road. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Down at the White House. I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah, down at the White House. I'm gonna let it shine.